Stop laughing, you freak, this isn't fun. The whole position is a mess because of what you did.
All units, fire reported north of alley, code 4 for medical.
I know. Isn't it beautiful?
Hello guys, first of all I would like to apologize for any background noises as I'm again recording from the hospital. The infection in my eye got worse and tomorrow I'm having a surgery and it will determine if I get to keep the eye or I'm becoming a pirate. And that is not a joke. On the other side, what is a joke is this brand new Gambit that I'm about to show you, which is just so crazy, ridiculous, stupid and dubious that I just cannot wait, so let's just get started. It starts as the modern Scandinavian, and if you have been following me or if you go through my channel and you can see there is a playlist of all sort of crazy gambits and traps that arise from the modern Scandinavian after the moves like knight to c3, pawn to c4, pawn to d4, bishop to b5 check, but I have nothing on knight to f3. So today I'm going to fix this by showing you this Joker Gambit. Now what is nice about this, you get to play the Gambit after following the most played moves by white in this variation. But even if they play for some kind of sideline, there are still some nice traps. So actually, I think I will be first showing the sideline traps and then I will keep the best thing for the last and show the Joker Gambit in the end of the video. So right here, I would suggest the move bishop to g4, pinning the knight. And the most logical response and the most played move here is just bishop to e2, breaking the pin. Let me just point out, if they played the second most played move, pawn to d4, now they have transposed into the Portuguese Gambit, the classical variation, and there are some nice traps in this opening as well, but I'll keep that for the next video. So let's just stick with bishop to e2. Now, I would suggest that you recapture your pawn using the knight, because here in this position, more than half of the players are simply going to get short castled, which is what I like to see here, because I can follow it up with knight to f4. A little bit of a suspicious move, moving the same piece for the third time in the opening, but the point is, we want to target this light square bishop. So this is like the initial position that we will be coming back to, and let's discuss what are the options for white. So the most played move here is pawn to h3. If they play this, you get to play the Joker Gambit. Then there is pawn to d3, pawn to d4, bishop to c4, and some other moves. But if you ask the stockfish here, the most correct move is to play bishop to b5. So white should try to preserve the light square bishop. And if you ever encounter this move, which is quite rare, it is only played like 5% of the times, you can consider yourself lucky, because you are probably going to win their queen in next couple moves. Let me show you how. So first of all, you are going to block this attack on your king with your pawn, and most guys are going to just park their bishop on a4. And now you hit them with queen to a5, so checking their bishop. Most guys go bishop to b3, and now you show your true colors, bringing the queen out, and you maneuver it to the other side of the board with queen to h5. And all of a sudden, you have a winning kingside attack. And in order for them to preserve their queen, they would have to find some ridiculous moves like pawn to h4 here, or sacrifice their bishop on f7. But most guys are just simply going to push their d-pawn. But in this case, you play this crazy knight captures on g2. And if they dare to capture the knight, you go check, king is forced back, and now bishop captures on f3, threatening not only the checkmate, but also the queen. So they have to give up the queen like this here. So pretty nasty trap if you ever encounter bishop to b5 check after this position. Now let's see if they go for bishop to c4. Actually, here you have a choice of what to do. You can either just simply go pawn to e6, blocking the bishop, and hoping for them to play pawn to h3 here, because if they do, you get to still play the Joker Gambit. But it is going to be even a better version of it, as our dark square bishop is going to be already opened up. The other thing that you can do is to go for this sort of a pawn sacrifice and develop your knight to c6. This is a pawn sacrifice because now white is having a tactics against you, and they can go ahead and capture on f7, which is actually the most played move. And the thing is, after you recapture, they go knight check, you have to go back, and they pick up this unprotected bishop of yours. It may appear as white is having some kind of a strong attack, but actually, after the move like, for example, knight to d4 can be tricky. They cannot capture the knight because they get forked. Or even stronger is pawn to e5, protecting your knight. And actually, in this position, it is white who needs to be careful, and I believe their only option is, like the only most correct move, is to go somewhere back with this knight, which nobody is playing. Most guys are playing like d3, or for example, g3, trying to harass your knight away. This one loses on the spot thanks to queen captures the knight, and after they recapture, you fork them like this. Okay, let's go back. So let's see the move pawn to d4. So this is the third most played move. Here I recommend you to play, since our knight is now being under attack from this bishop, I recommend to just go ahead and capture the light square bishop, and once they recapture, you go knight to c6, you are hitting the pawn on d4, so quite naturally pawn to c3 is the most played move. And now you have another pawn sacrifice, but this time they shouldn't be actually capturing this, although most guys do. Because once they capture this, you bring your queen to d5, you are not only putting the pressure on this pawn, but also you are kind of inviting the move rook to d1, hitting the queen, putting the rook on a nice open file, stopping black from castling long. Yeah, what a dream position for white, right? Well, look at this. Now you are going to capture the knight on f3, so you counter-attack their queen, and there is nothing better but to capture the bishop, and it actually doesn't matter if they capture with the pawn or with the queen, as it is going to transpose to the same thing. Let's say they capture like this, you recapture, they have to damage their pawn structure, and now knight captures on e5. Look at this. It looks like just a rook to e1. Why not? Pin the knight, push the pawn, easy win, right? Well, black here can get long castled, and actually black is winning here. And if they actually dare to capture the knight, it is only going to be worse for them, because you deliver this rook to d1 check. Now you pick up the bishop, and on top of everything, you are controlling their development, and they are, just stuck. And what you will do next, you will develop this bishop, you will go like a rook somewhere like this, and you will be winning the pieces here. Okay, let's go back. So that was pawn to d4. Let's see the second most played move, pawn to d3. Here, once again, you are going to just capture the light square bishop, and after they recapture, you go queen to d5 right away. So, PP on the PP rule, putting pressure on the pinned piece, and well, they don't want to get their pawn structure damaged, so that's why the most played reply here is just knight to d2, putting another supporter to the knight on f3. And now you develop your knight to c6, and your plan is to go just knight to d4 and put another pressure. But for some reason, most guys here are playing pawn to h3. They think they have time to harass your bishop away, which they don't. And now it is just simply knight to d4, hitting the queen. And on top of everything, most guys will go queen to e4. But this doesn't help them. It makes things worse for them. You exchange the queens. And now you don't even care about the bishop, you capture the pawn on c2, hitting the rook, forcing them to move the rook, and now you bring your bishop away from the attack. And now, well, you are only one pawn up, but the stockfish is giving a pretty nice advantage to black. Yeah, so that's pawn to d3 variation. And now let's get to the good stuff with pawn to h3. So, first of all, let me just advise you what you are about to witness is really dubious. It might be the most dubious gambit that I ever invented, and you are not to play this on a rated tournament or anything like that. But it can be a lot of fun and it can be pretty deadly in blitz or bullet. So, the first move is quite obvious. We are going to simply sacrifice our bishop on h3 for a pawn. And now, well, we are going to capture another pawn with a check. And most likely they are going to go king to h2. King to g2 is going to be the same. They just want to develop their king in such a way that they harass our knight away. And well, since we are already one piece down, and our knight is under attack, we should move it away or at least protect it, right? No. We are going to play pawn to g5. What in the Gotham City is this move? Well, the idea here is if they capture the knight, they will get punished. So let me just turn on this stockfish. By the way, this evaluation that you see is a little bit chill. It is actually much worse for black here. But if they capture the knight, look at this. The advantage drops rapidly for white, and now we are going to continue with pawn to g4, forking the king and the knight. And since white has already proven guilty of being greedy, they are most likely going to capture the pawn as well. Have a look at this. There are 4 games already in this position, and everybody took the bait and captured here. Although one could argue that these are just some noobs playing, and that is correct. Actually, the 2 games that black won are mine, and the other 2 guys are some lower rated players who actually got a winning position but didn't follow it up correctly. As here, black needs to play rook to g8 to take control of the whole g file where the exposed king is. And so in my games, the game continued with king to h3, and now you can play queen to c8 check. It's so nasty that you don't even develop your pieces of your back rank and just get crashing position even though you are down 2 minor pieces. I love this. So after king to h2, you go queen to g4, and now you are basically threatening checkmate here, but also here. And what they have to do is start throwing some pieces away to prolong the game. And if they play the more correct variation with blocking the check with the knight, here you play queen to d5. You are now threatening the knight, so they have to play d4 to protect the knight with the bishop. But now you strike them from the back rank. I mean, from the back. It's a check. It's a nice sandwich of the king and the knight between queen and the rook, and this will result in some hilarious king hunt, I can imagine. Alright, let's go back and let's see what happens if they actually don't take the bait. Because, perhaps if you guys are interested in playing this, and I would love to see how many people would be taking the bait, being greedy, capturing everything, and then, losing, and how of the players would be just ignoring the knight whatsoever and just playing some other moves. So the correct solution for white here is to not capture the knight but play pawn to d4, and then we should play pawn to g4, supporting our knight and hitting their knight. We are now having this really weird outpost on h3, which is going to be really painful for them to get rid of. So they should play like knight to e5, and now you support your g-pawn with your h-pawn as it was under attack. And here the strongest idea for white is to play bishop to f3. Maybe like a little bit of a hard move to find for them. For example, if they play something else, I don't know, let's say they would develop the knight, you can see the advantage is going to slip away from them, and you are the one having fun attacking, finding opportunities to just get to that weak naked king. So I believe even if they play correctly, this still could be some fun. Let me just show you. After this variation, of course, you cannot just capture the bishop because then your knight is loose on h3, and also they are putting pressure here, so this would be kind of wild to face, but let's see what would happen if they would actually capture the knight and then they wouldn't capture the pawn. Well, let's say they would play this correct move, king to h2. You are going to play pawn to e6, and yeah, it's like +1 something for white, even though we are down two minor pieces. This is crazy. We are going to be trying to get our pieces to the fight as soon as possible. And look at this, they cannot even like spend time moving this knight somewhere because they will be losing for them. Your queen would come to the h file and you would just be trying to win. I don't know what to say. Uh, Anyways, I think this is all I wanted to share about this gambit. I hope you are having some fun. I would definitely love to see some Monkey King playing this against some titled players and to see if it works on the higher level too. I guess it will not, but I don't know, just for fun. Yeah. Anyways, guys, the pain in my eyes is building up, so I think I will end it here. Thanks for watching, have a nice time, and yeah, see you around. Wish me luck for tomorrow. Thanks.